Breaking down the Vikings from the perspective of a former NFL General Manager of the Year. It's Jeff Diamond's Purple Report. Presented by your select Minnesota Buick GMC dealers.
Welcome to Jeff Diamond's Purple Report, brought to you every Monday and Thursday during the Viking season by your select Minnesota Buick GMC dealers and the 2024 GMC Acadia and Sierra on 1500 ESPN, available 24/7 on YouTube via links from the 1500 ESPN and Score North websites. I'm Jeff Diamond, former Vikings GM, former Tennessee Titans president. Our producer is Sam Bird, does a great job putting the show together. And Sam, big game, prime time for the Vikings and the Indianapolis Colts on Sunday night at US Bank Stadium. Vikings trying to rebound from tough couple losses to the Lions and the Rams. The Colts coming off a tough divisional loss in Houston. Indianapolis 4-4. They're in the mix for an AFC wildcard spot, a half game out of a wildcard spot right now. And the Vikings are in a wildcard spot and trying to stay in the NFC North race while they watch after their game, actually before their game on Sunday. It'll be Green Bay and Detroit going at it in Green Bay for the NFC North lead. So I think it's going to be a very exciting game on Sunday. Big story of the week really came out of Indianapolis around the NFL as Coach Shane Steichen is benching second-year quarterback Anthony Richardson, fourth overall pick last year, and starting 39-year-old Joe Flacco at quarterback on Sunday night against the Vikings. I think it kind of creates a good news, bad news situation for the Vikings, Sam. I think the good news is that Flacco, much less athletic than Richardson. He's only got 28 rushing yards this year. Richardson, 242 yards on the ground. Very dangerous runner, great athlete, but his passing skills have been awful this year. League worst 44% completion rate. League worst passer rating, 57.2. But for Brian Flores, I would say that he would much rather face Richardson than Joe Flacco, who was 4-1 in Cleveland last year, took him to the playoffs at the end of the season when Deshaun Watson was hurt, won the NFL Comeback Player of the Year award, which, interestingly, it could be last year's NFL Comeback Player of the Year, Joe Flacco, against maybe this year's NFL Comeback Player of the Year, who through 7 games at least, I would say it's Sam Darnold. If he can get the Vikings to the playoffs, continue to play well down the stretch, we will see how that all turns out. But as I said, I think Flores would love to face the younger quarterback and throw all his exotic blitzes and fake blitzes and back and forth, try to rattle the young quarterback as he did with Brock Purdy and C.J. Stroud earlier this year. They threw a bunch of interceptions in games the Vikings won at home, and the crowd noise helped in those games. I think the crowd noise could be a factor this week, except Flacco's kind of seen it all.
Yes.
He's been a Super Bowl MVP, a Super Bowl winner. He's been in loud stadiums. He's kind of an unflappable guy personality-wise, and he's a very accurate passer. He's a 66% passer, 65% compared to Richardson. So it's going to be a different approach in this game, certainly for Flores. He's got to have his corners playing better. Gilmore, Griffin, Murphy got to step up after having a rough game against Cooper Kupp and Puka Nacua and against Amon-Ra St. Brown against Detroit. Those corners have to step up this week. That's going to be a big factor in this game. And what's going to happen at left tackle for the Vikings? Another big story this week. The Vikings trade for Cam Robinson from Jacksonville. He's got 91 starts in the league. He's had kind of an up-and-down career, but he's got some talent. And we'll see, will he get some snaps this week? Will he be the guy they go to long-term with Christian Darrisaw, unfortunately, out for the year? David Quessenberry had a rough go in the second half against the Rams. Will they think about moving? I'm sure they're thinking about it. Will they do it? Will they move Blake Brandel, who has relieved Darrisaw in the past? Will they move him to left tackle, put Dalton Reisner in at left guard? But then there's another factor. DeForest Buckner is one of the best inside defensive tackles in the NFL, 3-time Pro Bowler. Do you want to move Brandel and have Reisner potentially lining up against Buckner in Reisner's first game this year as he's come off injured reserve with that back injury. Tough decision ahead for Kevin O'Connell in that area too. But I think ultimately it's going to be an exciting game in the prime time with the big crowd, amped up on a full day of, shall we say, getting ready for the game.
Yeah.
And I think it's going to be a fun game come Sunday. So let's hear from Kevin O'Connell as he talked at his press conference about getting into this game with the Colts and what he's trying to accomplish.
Excited to get back to US Bank Stadium. Gives us an opportunity for a home game, Sunday Night Football. Home environment's been unbelievable this year. I know our fans will bring the juice and make it a very tough environment for our opponent to play. Tough opponent this week, a team that's really played a lot of close games, and Shane does a really nice job coaching that team up. They play good football. We've got to do the same to give ourselves a good chance to win the game. Very much looking forward to that. We got to have a good week of prep. Got off to a good start just now, and get back into a normal rhythm here as we roll. As you guys have heard and seen, we did acquire Cam Robinson via trade from the Jacksonville Jaguars. Compliments to Kwesi and his group for being able to acquire a player like this. When you lose a player like Christian Darrisaw, it's so catastrophic because he means so much to your team, your offense, but also just from a standpoint of losing such a veteran presence that we rely so much on. So to find a player of Cam's caliber in season.
So I talked before a lot of the subplots in this game, and they include the Vikings left tackle situation, what happens there. Hawkinson returning to the lineup, TJ Hawkinson coming back off his ACL surgery. How much playtime will he get? How much usage will he get? Will they get the ball to Jefferson this week when he hasn't been targeted enough all year, as we've kind of talked every week about? Only one game with double-digit targets. Protecting Darnold's going to be big. The Vikings have given up 22 sacks now, which is seventh worst in the league. And now part of that's on Sam for hanging on the ball too long, as was the case in the ill-fated sack fumble face mask against the Rams, where he held the ball where it should have been called, but it wasn't. A lot of things going on. And I think also defensively, Vikings needing to shore up in the secondary. Teams, most recently the Rams and the Lions, going to a quick passing game, trying to negate that pass rush, trying to do a lot of up-tempo so that the Vikings couldn't do their checks and can't get in and out of their blitzes and fake blitzes. Brian Flores talked this week about the concern about our team's going to continue to do this to the Vikings, and how does he react to that as we said, coming off that Rams game?
I think it's a copycat league, certainly. Things that worked, I think if they have it in their offense, which most teams have, some version of it in their offense, I think then it's, what do we do to counter that? What do we do to make something look the same and maybe bait them in a throw or a run or, something like that. So I think that's the back and forth of the National Football League, and kind of the chess match of preparation on both sides. And that's why we're in it. That's why we're in it.
As we talked before, the left tackle situation and Blake Brandel, a big part of that offensive line, his first year as a full-time starter, has played really well, other than too many false start penalties on him, which is an issue for the entire offense, to try to negate that as we go forward and be able to offset those penalty issues.
That's just a part of football too, is, whatever whoever's on the field, we're going to figure out our best way to go forward. And so helping each other, that's a great part about offensive line play, is there's ways you can help each other. And whether that's with technique, communication, just whatever. I mean, it's your five that are going out there. So that's definitely the approach.
And Stephon Gilmore, I mentioned before, had a great first 5 games in the season, has fallen off a little bit in his coverage the last couple of weeks, and gave up a bunch of completions in that Rams game particularly, and the Lions game. And they need him to play back to the level that he was, which is his Pro Bowl caliber play that he had early in the season. He talked this week about getting ready to face the Colts, and it's a team that he played for in 2022.
We've been watching them already. They had a great team. They've been in every game. They had a lot of talent, so it's going to be a big challenge. We just got to out-prepare them and out-play them on Sunday.
Have any extra meaning for you to go against them?
Not really. I mean, this is the next game. Next game is always the big game, so, had a great year there, but just really focusing on what I can do to help this team win.
You think we're at the point in the season, too, where it gets to there's enough film out there that there's a chess match. They see you, you see them, and adjustments are starting to happen more and more?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, the more you play, the more people see, the more they try to attack you. But like I said before, it really comes down to, just playing good technique and playing good fundamentals and communicating well, competing at the end of the day.
Of course, the best thing that can happen for a cornerback in the league is to get a great pass rush in front of them. And I think the Vikings are going to have a chance to do that this week. The Colts offensive line, very banged up coming off that game with their division rival, Houston, kind of similar to what the Vikings dealt with after the Lions game going into L.A., and the Vikings coming off a mini bye get a little bit of advantage with some extra rest. But the Colts are three of their starting offensive linemen didn't practice on Wednesday this week, including their left tackle, Ryman, and that could be a big factor in the game. Their left tackle, Ryman, the right tackle, Braden Smith. If that's the case, it could be a field day for the Vikings pass rushers to get after Flacco. But again, he's going to get rid of the ball, or going to try to get rid of the ball, unless they can really get to him quickly. Before we hear from the Colts side, from the coach and the quarterback, let's talk about our great sponsor, the Select Minnesota Buick GMC dealers. It's time to take the field in an SUV that's designed to be unstoppable in every pursuit. That's the all-new 2024 GMC Acadia. From its reimagined interior to its bold, capable exterior, Acadia is suited up so you can make winning drives wherever they may lead. Whether it's at home or away, your team will enjoy the ride in comfort. With 3 rows of spacious seating for 7, plus Acadia comes standard with other winning features like heated front seats, remote start, and a 2.5-liter engine with a GM estimated 328 horsepower. Or take yours to the championship level with available amenities like a panoramic sunroof or an off-road tuned suspension. Don't sit on the sidelines any longer. Test drive your new 2024 GMC Acadia today. Available now at your Select Minnesota GMC dealers. As we said, the Colts coach, Shane Steichen, big in the news around the NFL this week with his decision to bench Anthony Richardson, start the veteran Joe Flacco, and he talked this week about that decision and what the Colts are trying to get accomplished.
We're trying to make a push right now going into November and December and feel that Joe gives us the best chance to do that.
What way does the schedule over these next 4 weeks kind of play into your decision, just the level of opponents that you have over the next 4 weeks?
Yeah, I mean, we got a tough stretch right here. Obviously, Minnesota, our focus right now is on Minnesota. They're a damn good football team, offensively and defensively. And then we got some other opponents down the road. But yeah, we go from there.
What ways do you think Joe gives you a better chance to win Anthony right now?
I think just his experience. You know what I mean? He's been playing a long time. And then when he's had to step in and play this year, he's been really efficient. Going back to last year, he's a Super Bowl winning quarterback. So that's where it's at.
Yeah, Joe Flacco, as the coach mentioned, very efficient. He's got a 102.2 rating this year versus Richardson's 57.2. Wow. Big difference. He's 1-1 as a starter this year, also relieved in their win over Pittsburgh. Got a win in Tennessee, lost a close game in Jacksonville. Got a lot of experience, as we said, in the league, and 39 years old. So, but he's not real mobile at this stage of his career. Here's Joe Flacco at his media session this week.
Listen, I mean, I've been doing this for a long time. I'm just going to go out there and play my game and do the best I can to, elevate everybody and give them confidence and just do my thing like I have. I've already played a couple games this year, so I think everybody knows what to expect, and we can just roll right into it.
Couple of Colts highlights we pulled just to kind of give you a taste of what they're capable of doing. Michael Pittman, also another guy on the injured list this week for the Colts, as is Josh Downs, another starting receiver. So they're banged up, but we'll see if those guys play. I'm sure some of them will make it. Here was from week 6 when the Colts won in Tennessee, and Flacco did start that game. And here's the game-winning score, kind of a Flacco beating the blitz and throwing it up, and Pittman plucks it out of the air.
Pittman just 3 targets, 1 catch. Here they come. Flacco to the end zone. It is caught. Jump ball. Pittman. Touchdown.
I don't know what that Titan safety was doing behind the play. Just kind of standing there watching it. Kind of like Tyreek Stevenson the other day for the Bears.
Exactly.
I'm just going to play to the crowd and watch the play, and then, I'll run over there at the last second and not cover my guy.
Right.
So,
Best seat in the house, right?
Yeah, exactly. Exactly right. So, yeah, the Bears have to recover from that play as they go out to Arizona. But here we talked earlier about Jonathan Taylor. He's missed 3 games this year with an ankle injury. He led the NFL in rushing in 2021. He's got over 450 yards rushing this year in 5 games and 5 touchdowns on the ground. So he's a threat and an elite running back when he's healthy. Here was a touchdown run he had in the Colts' win over the Bears in Week 3.
His teammate Rodney Thomas also wears one. Here's Taylor. Nice move by Jonathan Taylor. Oh, yeah! Touchdown! And some sweet moves by JT.
You can see the good feet and the good moves against a really pretty good Bears defense, too. So the Vikings have to be on their toes. I think a key is going to be, can Blake Cashman make it back for this game? He's such an important part of that defense. They really missed him when he's been out with the turf toe against Detroit and the Rams, not only in run defense, but in pass coverage, covering the middle of the field. Pittman's a guy that gets a lot of receptions in the middle of the field. I think they need Cashman in that lineup, and we'll see if he can make it back this week. A couple other keys: run the ball well. The Colts come in with the number 30 rushing at defense. Wow. And so the Vikings, this could be a week to get Aaron Jones, Ty Chandler, Cam Akers, get that running game going. We'll see if that can happen against that Colts defense, but they've had trouble stopping the run this year, and that really makes sense because Darnold has been sacked a lot in the last few games. Now, the Colts are not an elite pass rushing team. They've only got 16 sacks on the year, so they're 21st in the league. The Vikings still 5th in the league with 24 sacks, so that gives them an advantage there in the pass rushing game. One of the things we thought we'd do today, kind of look back on a great moment in Vikings recent history, which was the last time the Colts came to town. You remember that one, don't you, Sam?
Oh, trust me, I can't forget that game.
Vikings down 33-0. This was 2022, Kevin O'Connell's first season. Kirk Cousins still the quarterback, Dalvin Cook the running back, Jefferson at that point in his 3rd season. Vikings not quite as tough defensively perhaps in those years, but that was a momentous game. Vikings down 33-0 at halftime, staged the biggest comeback in NFL history to come back and win that game 39-36. And that was week 15 of 2022. Here was a play, kind of a fun play to look back at. Justin Jefferson, and he's going against none other than his current teammate, Stephon Gilmore, on this touchdown reception.
And one thing, for those of you watching this on YouTube, pay attention to the bottom left corner of the screen.
Cousins. Oh, he had Hawkinson. Instead, he's got Jefferson. Touchdown, Vikings.
Gritty. That was nasty.
It was nasty. That was a really, really good play by Jefferson.
That was just a great move inside out, and even against at that time still a Pro Bowl corner, Stephon Gilmore, who was beat on that play. But now they're teammates, so they'll be cheering for each other this week. And then here is T.J. Hockenson. We talked about him before, coming back this week from his injury. And in 2022, he had just been acquired from Detroit, and this was later in the season. he ties the game up and essentially sends it to overtime with this 2-point conversion catch from Kirk Cousins.
Jefferson in motion. Cousins lets it go. Let's go! T.J. Hawkinson, we are tied.
That was just amazing. I remember watching that in my man cave in my basement. I'm thinking, this is. I almost turned the game off at halftime, but stuck with it. And I'm sure a lot of Viking fans did turn it off and maybe got a phone call like, hey, you might want to tune in the fourth quarter because history's being made. And then Greg Joseph in overtime kicked the game winner from 40 yards. Vikings with that big win. And that game clinched the NFC North title for the Vikings in 2022. So let's hear again from our great sponsor, the Select Minnesota Buick GMC dealers.
There are trucks, then there's the truck, GMC Sierra, with available features like the V8 engine, the ultimate luxury interior, and of course, the available world's first 6-function multi-pro tailgate. GMC Sierra, not just any truck, the truck. GMC's continued commitment to professional-grade engineering is on full display at your local GMC dealer. Come take a test drive today and see for yourself. We are professional-grade. GMC. Well-qualified buyers get 1.9% APR for 36 months on GMC Sierra light-duty models. See your local GMC dealer today. Monthly payment is $28.16 for every $1,000 you finance. Average example down payment 15%. Some customers will not qualify. Not available with lease and some other offers. Take new retail delivery by 9/30/24.
So after this week, the Vikings will have played 8 games. They're hoping to get to 6-2, which would be a very impressive start to the season, and then head into a couple of road games against losing teams, Jacksonville, Tennessee, and they've got Arizona and the Bears, who are respectable teams in the NFC. But it's a stretch much more favorable, as we talked about the other night, compared to the first 7 games where they had 5 playoff teams. But we're kind of at the halfway point in the season, more or less. So let's play a little game here, Sam.
Uh-oh.
MVP. I've got MVP first half of the season. I think it's a close race between Josh Allen, Jared Goff, and Jaden Daniels. But I'm going to go with Josh Allen. 14 touchdown passes, 1 interception. Has the Bills at 6-2 when a lot of people thought they would slide after losing so many players in free agency. Who do you like as your first half MVP?
Yeah, it's so bizarre to say this, but honestly, Jaden Daniels, he's been such an he's been a boost of energy for that Commanders team. He's only a rookie, right? So probably unlikely that he'll win, but if you truly call it most valuable player compared to where the Commanders were last season to where they are this year, it's not even close. He's been the biggest difference maker. Not only on that team, but in that he's probably the best quarterback in that division when you really look at it. So I would say Jaden Daniels, but realistically, I agree with you. It'll probably be Josh Allen right now.
Yeah, and Jared Goff's in the mix too, and certainly Offensive Player of the Year. Always it's kind of a consolation prize. So we can give it to Goff and then give the Offensive Rookie of the Year to Daniels.
There you go.
Defensive Player of the Year. I saw T.J. Watt be a game wrecker against the Giants the other night. He's got 6.5 sacks. Just a great player. He's won it before, but I like him. I think Defensive Rookie of the Year, I think we saw that player in Jared Verse against the Rams. He was a beast, especially in the second half when Darisaw went out. Coach of the Year, I think there are a lot of great candidates. I'm going to go with Dan Quinn with your Washington Commanders.
Yeah.
And as far as comeback player of the year, as I already said, Sam Darnold, if he can continue on his present course. So we shall see how that all plays out down the stretch. But meanwhile, certainly a very big week coming up in the NFL and in the NFC North. But first of all, we got to make our picks on the Vikings and the Colts. I'll go first. I think you went first last time, Sam. A big game for both teams, as I said, as they're both in the playoff race. The Colts actually, even without considering the Darisaw injury, the Colts are actually the more banged up team, especially if the Vikings can get Cashman back. I think that both teams will move the ball on offense. I like the Vikings matchup running the ball against the Colts. And I think that Sam Darnold can have a big day. I'm not overly impressed with the Colts corners in terms of covering Jefferson, Addison, Naylor. So I think this is a game the Vikings offense can be explosive, make big plays, as long as they can protect Darnold. I think the Colts are also going to move the ball. I think Flacco is a guy who, as I said, a cool customer. I like the Vikings in this game. I'm going to call it a close game, 30-27. Will Reichert kicks the winning field goal. What do you think?
Yeah, I think this one's going to be kind of a barn burner, right? To use that old term. I think it's going to be a very high-scoring game. I think the defenses have started to figure out Darnold a little bit. So you're going to see probably a lot of I think Darnold's going to have kind of maybe a slower start, but then he'll start to figure it out. I agree with you, Jeff. Jefferson has to get more involved. Can't stress that enough. I don't know. This one's tough. I still like the Vikings, but I agree with you. It's going to be close. I think it's going to be more of like a 37-31, maybe 34 kind of game. I think you're going to see a lot of touchdowns in this one. It's really going to come down to field goals. And hopefully it won't come down to any controversial calls at the end of the game.
Yeah, no face mask calls, please. So, yeah, that would be similar to the last time the two teams met, 39-36 Vikings in overtime 2 years ago.
And one other thing, Jeff, historically, even recent history, the Vikings have not played well at home against the Colts. And I know it's kind of cliche to say that because the team isn't exactly the same as it was even a few years ago, but it's just something about this Colts team, and it's prime time. I think it's going to be a close one, but the Vikings will find a way to win.
Yeah, and I agree with you on that. So looking around the NFL, as I said, the game of the week, Detroit travels to Lambeau Field to take on the Packers. Jordan Love battling a groin injury. We'll see if he can go. I don't think Malik Willis is going to beat the Lions. Jordan Love would give them a better chance. But Detroit is just on a roll, 5 straight wins. The Packers have won 4 straight also. I just think Detroit right now, the best team in the league, and I think they'll get this road win. Last year, these two teams split their series, and both teams won on the road. So I don't think Detroit fears going into Lambeau. I think that Detroit wins that game. The Bears have to get over that Hail Mary loss and head to a tough game in Arizona. Could be some heat involved. And the Cardinals, kind of a sneaky good team this year, won at Miami, beat San Francisco before. They're 4-4, tied for the division lead with San Francisco and Seattle in the NFC West. I like the Cardinals this game. I just think that they'll handle the Bears. Okay. I think that Kyler Murray make enough plays, and Caleb Williams has just been too up and down.
Okay. Yeah, Arizona's such a weird team this year. They're like one of those yo-yo teams. It's like they do great one week and not so great the next week. So
right, and they have won 3 of their last 4. I think a really interesting game for Minnesota football fans. It's the Kirk Cousins against Mike Zimmer game. Yeah. Dallas goes to Atlanta, and I'm not sure there's any love lost between those two guys beneath the surface. They all kind of talk. They both kind of talk a good game at times, but I'm not so sure about all that. And Cousins is playing pretty well now. The Cowboys are a mess on defense without Micah Parsons and DeMarcus Lawrence. Dak Prescott making too many mistakes, trying to force the issue. I like Atlanta in this game. I think they'll get the win at home. And as I mentioned before, the Rams tied for that, or a half game out of the division lead, and they go to Seattle, where the Seahawks got pounded by Buffalo at home last week. I like the Rams in this game. I think that they'll find a way to get another win. They've got some momentum coming off that Vikings game, more confidence with Kupp and Nakua in the lineup, a young defense that's flying around. I think they'll win. I think Kansas City wins again, stays unbeaten. Denver at Baltimore, a good matchup. So a lot of exciting games in week 9 in the NFL, but the biggest one will be right here, Sunday night, Vikings and the Colts, and we're going to break it down on Monday on our show. So this has been Jeff Diamond's Purple Report, brought to you every Monday and Thursday during the Viking season by your select Minnesota Buick GMC dealers and the 2024 GMC Acadia and Sierra on 1500 ESPN, available 24/7 on YouTube. via links from the 1500 ESPN and Score North websites. This is Jeff Diamond with Sam Bird. Everybody have a great Halloween, happy Halloween weekend, and we'll see you on Monday.